Hello, good morning, good afternoon if you are in Europe, and thank you for coming to one more webinar, our webinar series talking about B2B marketing. I'm here, I'm Vinny, I'm part of InEvent. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I have a great guest today. It's a pleasure to have Nate Skinner here with us. Hey Nate, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Vinny. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so Nate has a long background on B2B strategies. He has more than 23 years building and leading marketing and sales teams for B2B technology companies such as Amazon AWS, Salesforce, and Oracle. Now he's part of Findo. Nate, can you say what exactly Findo does? Tell us more about your position as well.
Yeah, thanks, Vinny. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Onfido. We are, our vision and mission is to simplify identity for everyone. It's one of these things that really the pandemic accelerated, where, people don't want to go into a branch of a bank, or they don't want to go to the insurance office, or they don't want to go physically down and like prove their identity. And so what we see is more and more identity verification and facial biometrics need to be done in an automated way from anywhere in the world. And that's what Onfido delivers for our customers.
Nice. And how is um this challenge right now, like to the topic that we're going to discuss here today, how marketing is generated leads, how marketing generated revenue for sales. So it's not a something common yet for most of the companies, but it's something that is growing. So how is this challenge for you to be in a position that you needed to also educate, probably you needed to educate the market, right?
Yeah, that's true. It reminds me a lot of kind of 2007, 2008. If you've been around that long, cloud computing was new, right? And at that time, I joined Salesforce in 2009. We were having to educate the market about what we did, which was CRM software delivered through a browser, software as a service, and educate people about why that model was better than a traditional on-premise model. So why the cloud was better. And we're having to do that now. We're having to educate the market around verifying someone to reduce fraud, to decrease your cost of customer acquisition, to improve the customer experience. If you do sign up, for instance, with like an HSBC, who's a customer, as a new customer for them, they want to make sure that the onboarding and proving of your identity is a seamless and frictionless experience. That is all kind of new, at the same time as reminding people that, in the end, what we want to do is make sure that those people that have every positive intention, the people that want to just use banking services or want to use crypto services or want to use NFT services, are people that have no ill intent, while at the same time, those that are trying to create an opportunity for themselves in a kind of underhanded way, what we would call fraudsters, are rejected from access to those services. So it's a balancing act of like reducing fraud while increasing the experience for the customers. And it's a challenge. We have to educate everyone about both sides of that coin as we go.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think it's very interesting because you can really start to shape the industry, right? You can really create a specific and strong campaigns as Salesforce did in the beginning, like a no software, right? Like no software on premise when they are bringing like the cloud computing. So it's you can create such a remarkable campaigns and that drive a lot of branding awareness, and of course at the end you want to leads, right? You want to generate revenue. So, and we were talking about this. How do you measure this, right? Like you say, I create a great campaign, I put like a lot of ads on this, or it just went viral, like this Salesforce campaign that we know from 20 years ago. You needed to measure like the impact of this on your sales pipeline as well, not only in the marketing pipeline. How do you measure this? Is there any particular fundamental or tactics that you recommend?
Oh, yes, I mean, absolutely. And viral is really great for every kind of company. Obviously, it's even better for B2C companies where you're selling directly to consumers. A hot shoe or a hot shirt or a hot whatever. It's also great for B2B companies, but it's much more unlikely that a viral campaign will result in deals. Because just because someone knows about something doesn't mean that they're going to buy it or that they're in the market to buy it, especially in B2B software, right? Because as you know, I mean, do you need ID verification? Do you need to simplify identity? Every company out there? Maybe not. So what we have to do is focus on the fundamentals. And literally, no matter what company I worked for in my career, especially in the B2B world, it starts with awareness of the fact that you exist at all. And it's only been that problem has accelerated or increased kind of in the post-corona world because everyone's searching for the solution to their problem. And so you have to, the fundamental step one is like, how do we make sure people find our house, right? If your house is your business, how do you stand out and say, hey, my house is here, here's my address, come on in? That is all SEO and content, and driving awareness of your company's existence in this world is uniquely difficult nowadays because there's so many companies out there and everyone is behind a screen like we are trying to find the answer to the problem that they need to solve. So the fundamental first step is, who are we trying to reach and how do they think about the problem they're trying to solve? You craft an SEO strategy and a content strategy that attracts those people based on natural language search. That's like really step one. The next thing is like, make sure your website is representative of the house that you want people to come and visit. I'll say this transparently. We have a lot of work to do on Fido's website. It's not because it doesn't work, because it's on fido.com. It does work. But it doesn't do as good a job as I'd like. I've only been here since November 29th. So I'm my fourth month. It doesn't do as good a job as I'd like of being really clear and concise about how we can help customers be successful in simplifying identity. And so we're going to focus on that. So that if we drive an SEO and content strategy that increases the ability for people to find us when they come to our house, which is our website, it should be very clear how they can get to the answers that they need. And that's really the kind of logical steps. When you build a campaign, focusing on the value proposition that you deliver, ideally differentiated value proposition, and then building that out in every aspect of your marketing effort, SEO, content, the website, events you run on platforms like events you might run physically in the physical world. How that comes to life should be consistent. And I think that's the third thing I'd say. The problem I see most often is an inconsistency in what we're trying to get people to understand we can do to help them. Marketers get bored, right? Let's try a new tagline. Let's run a different ad. Let's change the copy. And actually, really solid, effective B2B marketing that drives campaign performance of like top of funnel down to leads that convert it should be repetitively boring. You should say it consistently everywhere all the time. That's how great brands become great brands. You didn't see, kind of to the example we used before, Salesforce didn't say no software and then 5 years later say something different. They still say no software. That's the power of being consistent, is saying it over and over again in as simple and concise terms as you possibly can. And the fourth thing I'll add is just always thinking the way a customer or prospect thinks, not from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And that is a problem I think a lot of B2B companies fall into as well, especially given the surge in product-led growth. A lot of product-led growth turns into marketing that's product-led, and that doesn't translate. People don't think about your product the way you think about it, right? People think about the product the way they think about it. And so you reaching them with a clear and concise message is a complement to product-led growth. It's not some sort of like takeaway from it.
Yeah, great, amazing insights. And but how do you capture this message that are in your customer mind? Like you said, like the customer, the user, they have their own way they think about your product. How's the best way to get those to have this customer voice, right? Like we want to listen to the customer to say like how exactly they perceive the value, they see the value of our product. Those are just like survey campaigns, NPS. Is there anything else that you see that's the best way to capture this?
I mean, Vinny, this is a great question, and the answer is really simple. Talk to customers all the time. I think one of the problems in marketing that I've seen throughout my career is marketing gets done in an office or nowadays, by the marketing team in their remote locations. And you can stop and say, who talked to a customer today? And the answer is nobody has. Now I talked to the sales rep. The problem with that, and no offense to all my sales partners out there, because I was a seller once too. The problem is that salespeople tend to remember the last thing they were told, which is probably a deal they were working on, or a deal that they lost, or a deal that they won. But it's recency bias. It's not a conversation directly with the source. It's kind of like Vinny told me that Tommy told him. That's not nearly as good as just talking to Tommy. And so I think at the fundamental, the question you asked is how. The answer is talk to customers. Reach out to your sales team or your customer success team and ask to be on the calls. Nowadays, it's even easier than ever, right? Because all these calls are happening on Zoom. So just join Zoom, be anonymous, listen, understand the words that are coming out of their mouth, write it all down, even use, there's products out there now like Gong that actually will listen to a conversation and you can transcribe it and analyze it. That is the best way to do it, is to absolutely talk to customers. We've built in our business metrics for our team. How many customer conversations have you been on this quarter? It's an absolutely imperative. If you find yourself in a box building marketing campaigns, you are going to lose sight of the way customers think about the problem you're trying to solve.
That's perfect. Yeah, I totally agree with that. People needed to listen directly to the customer, what they say, the way they say, even the height of their voice, if they're sad, if they're happy when they're talking, if they're just astonished, like I not even realize it could be that, or sharing some frustrations, right?
Yeah, I give you one really specific example. In my current job at our company, there's this acronym called KYC. KYC stands for Know Your Customer. And it's a process that people want to, is Vinny who he said he was? We prove his identity. We prove facial biometrics to say, yes, that's him. And then do we know everything about him? Do we know where he lives, where he works? Do we know all the details about him? It's kind of a process that's well known. But if we're talking to customers, do they say KYC and shorten it to the acronym? Or do they say, I'm trying to solve for a know your customer problem we have? We sign up people and we don't know who they are, and that's a problem. You'd be amazed at how often that's the way the customers say it, while we're out here talking about KYC like everyone knows what that means. So that's a very specific example. But we can't just assume that everyone else thinks the way we do. It's a hole that I see a lot of and salespeople, but a lot of people that are trying to reach people, trying to get prospects, trying to get deals. We fall into this jargony acronyms that customers just don't think about. And that's a marketing job, is to stop doing that, right? Think like a human being, talk like a human being, put out messages in your campaigns and on your website that speak to human beings. Because in the end of the day, B2B software is no different than B2C. It's less about the product and it's more about the idea, right?
Yeah.
I need to solve for onboarding customers. That's the idea. Product is irrelevant. At the end of the day, if we can help you understand it, we can help you identify your customers better than anyone else, we'll win.
And this way, you needed to understand how your customer search about that problem or that situation they live, and that you can solve, right? Like, what is the best way today to mimic this message? The same way people are talking, your customers are talking, I want to say the same message on my website. You just go into like a Google Trends. What are the best tools to?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously Google Analytics is a great place to start, right? Because it can show you monthly search volume. It can show you which words are, if you pair together KYC plus know your customer, that combination is much more global monthly search volume than just one of them by themselves. Is a good example of where to start. Identifying the top keywords you feel like your company should rank for, meaning our best use cases in our case, our best use cases are reducing fraud, increasing customer acquisition for our customers, reducing the cost of customer acquisition, and compliance. If those are keywords, all of those things I just said are keywords that we should be looking for how we want to rank, and then where do we rank, and then how much search volume is occurring. And if we can marry up the way we talk about ourselves with the way people are searching for the thing that we do, that's where you hit home runs. That's where you get, massive engagement, because you're talking to someone. It's kind of like in the old world of walking into a car dealership. Somebody walks on a car dealership lot, they've already done their research. They're there because it's a Honda. They're obviously not at the, Subaru store. Like, something about them. They're showing you intent.
That's true.
And so now it's just about delivering for them what they came to find and talking about it in the way that they think about the terms. The worst experience you can have, and everyone I bet can relate to this, is going to a car dealer and having them say, "Oh, you're here to see this, Honda. Let's just use Honda. Let me tell you all about it." Well, I already know all about it. That's why I'm here, right? Help me understand why I should walk away from here buying the car from you. That's what your job is. Starting with like, let me show you under the hood and tell you about the gas pedals. Like, that's irrelevant. I've already made a decision. So help me just get to the conclusion.
Yeah, that's true. And this car example I really like. Sometimes you don't need to convince the person that is in front of you, that is maybe a man or a woman. You needed to converse like the spouse of this person or kids, right? Like, because they're not buying the car for his own, or like, do you have friends? Do you want to hang out with friends? What is the main reason?
That's right.
That you have the car. It's not just for myself. There is somebody else with me that will take advantage of your product, your solution.
Yeah, I mean, and you're hitting on kind of an important concept, which is understanding what drives human behavior. This is something that gets lost in B2B land. I'm a B2B marketer. But for B2B marketing, we somehow forget that in the end, human beings still buy software until the robots take over. Yep. And we give them budgets. At the end of the day, a human being is the one who pays the bill and buys and makes the decision to buy software, no matter what it is. And speaking to them in their language and recognizing that they're different than what you might assume is a hard problem to solve when you're trying to reach everyone. But because there's bias that's unconscious built into these things. I'll use my car example again, and Vinny, you just hit on it. I show up to a car dealership, I'm a white man. There are words that sometimes come out of the salesperson's mouth because they might be a white man that are different than they should come out of their mouth if I were a white woman or a person of a different race or transgender or whatever. They have to craft their message accordingly. If you don't, you can actually do worse than not close a deal. You can cause someone to feel like you're not paying attention. And that's even worse. And so there's an opportunity there to elevate the way you talk to people, to not have bias built into the way you talk about what you can do to help customers solve the problem. Focus on the problem and how you solve it. That's where the rubber hits the road.
Got it. Let's pull a question from the audience. So I think you can see, right? Brian Knapp, he's asking, where do you find dollars are best spent within B2B search optimization?
Yeah, good question.
Particular thing?
So the first answer is spend as much. First of all, the analysis up front of what your search strategy is, which keywords do we want to rank for, which non-branded and branded do we want to like highlight and focus on. And it can't be all of them, by the way. Like, one of the pitfalls that I think people come into is, oh, we want to rank for these 100 or 1,000 words. Wrong. You'll never move the needle, right? Pick your top 20 or your top 10. That's step one, is start with analysis. To answer the question on screen around dollars, the dollars that get spent should be in two places. One is paid search while you improve your organic search, right? So if a keyword we want to search for is virtual events, we're on one right now, right? The first thing we want to do is, where are we? Are we on the first page, or are we in the top 3 results organically? And if we're not, put dollars behind paid search that will move you up. Okay. Over time, you'll be able to reduce those paid dollars because organic search will catch up. And so you can kind of offset your costs later. But up front, answer number one is spend it on paid search to offset your organic results. The second is to spend money on content, both technology that helps you understand how to write content. I'm on the board of a company called Demand Jump that does this very well. It helps you say, okay, here's your keywords and here's where you want to rank. Here's the kind of content you should produce that will improve your SEO performance. So there's software component and technology that can help, but there's also literally content, like writing blogs, getting out LinkedIn articles, putting things out on and getting third parties to write on your behalf and giving them the written copy that is SEO optimized for them to publish, creating the domains that are your authority pages, that all of those things you created, all those content pieces point to. So there's one source. That's all that is just SEO optimization. But that's how I spend my money to get B2B search optimization.
Okay, yeah. Not only the money, but your time as well, like time
Oh,
of your own time and your team, right?
yeah.
And talking about like this word right now that people, again, we more and more we buy from people, even online, right? Even online, you buy something because you saw your friend or you saw that particular influencer talking about that. Do you believe those influencers for B2B, they must be out of the company, or those influencers must be like yourself as the CMO, the CEO of the company, the VP of sales? Who are the best influencers, or is it both? I don't know. What's your answer?
Well, it absolutely depends on what you are marketing and selling. So this is why this is a nuanced answer. I spent most of my career as a marketer at software companies where the product we were marketing was marketing software. Okay. So imagine you're a realtor and all you do is sell houses to other realtors. They wanted to hear from me because I was using the technology that I was marketing. And so how do you use it best? And so I was often the authority or the subject matter expert that people wanted to hear from. In that case, it didn't have to be a third party. It could be me or someone on my team. We are users. We're using this product to reach you, the marketer who's going to buy it. And so now you want to hear from me about how I used it, right? Perfect. Now at this company on Fido, I'm not the expert. I'm not the customer. I don't use our technology every day to do my job. So who do people want to hear from? It goes back to what I said earlier. It starts with the customer in, not inside out. They don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from our fraud experts. They want to hear from our compliance experts. They want to hear from the industry experts that are employees of our company that come from things like Interpol, right? Because those are the people that know how to solve these problems in a way that is bigger than just a vendor. They also want to hear from third-party experts and people who that's what they do for a living, right? Fraud experts or compliance experts. And so we have to have a strategy that takes it outside of our building and puts it in the hands of objective third parties. So long-winded answer to your question, but the answer is it depends on what you do and what you're selling and who you are.
Yeah, everything starts from like what is your right target, right? Like who is your persona?
Absolutely.
Where they live, like what kind of content they listen or they consume. Are they consuming this on LinkedIn or only Google or news? What are the channels they are, the places they are as well? Like now that we are going back to in person to in real life again, how do you see using B2B marketing campaigns on events or billboards or airports? Like I've seen a lot of big companies, big tech companies putting signs on airports, right? Is there any particular thing that you really believe going back to in real life?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. Everything that you do in marketing should be, you said it, it should start with who are we trying to reach? That's the first question. Because then you know things like, well, where do they spend their time getting their information? What websites do they read? What blogs do they read? What other services do they use? Maybe there's a partnership opportunity for you to kind of connect up with someone. We, for instance, have a Salesforce App Exchange product for on Fido, where we inject the ID verification capabilities of our platform into the Salesforce ecosystem for Salesforce customers. Why? Because there's lots of banks and lots of financial services companies that use Salesforce. So like, that's why we did that. So now it starts with who you're trying to reach. You said it earlier. And then it becomes, okay, how do we reach them in the most effective way? It's not one thing or the other. It's a integrated, what they call marketing mix, right? It's SEO, it's content, it's the website. It's also events. It's virtual events like this one. It's physical events where appropriate. But you get back to the first question you asked, like how do you prioritize or how do you think about where you spend money? You clearly can't do everything. So prioritization, or what I refer to as ruthless prioritization, is about where do we get the most people that we want to reach in the biggest bang for our buck. And so I'll give you a very specific example, Vinny. On May 25th, we are going to launch a product, a big launch in the market at Onfido. One of the things we want to do is we're going to do digital. We're going to do a virtual event for our customers to know what we've announced, but we're also going to do it in New York City at this event called Lend It FinTech. At that event, we're going to put everything we've got into making sure that you can't attend that without knowing our name. Why? Because that's our target audience. It's one of the many. But We want to show up as big as we possibly can. Now, I can't do that, or we can't do that, every event around the world that's fintech. We'd go broke. But this one, we're going to take everything we're putting into the digital investment around this launch into a physical moment in time. We're going to do billboards. We're going to do, the subway station next to Javits Center. We're going to do the billboards throughout Javits. We're going to do all of the above with the intention of being this moment at this time. We're doing everything we can. And again, that means we're not going to do 100 other things that we would have done, but that's okay, because we're kind of trying to make this moment really as impactful as it can be.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's really, it's kind of simple. There are a lot of complexity, right? And like building everything, you needed to make everything synchronized and also asynchronous. But it's pretty simple. Like this day, this moment that I have my audience all together, and I want to make them feel that like I'm so big, I'm a big company already. Sometimes you are not, but they will feel this way because they see your presence everywhere. Is this event already happened, this campaign, or is still going to happen?
No, it's coming May 25th. That's why I use that example. It's a very relevant. I've got a whiteboard over here with our plans and a
Nice.
digital board in Asana built out, and we got a lot of work to do. But again, I think that there's a takeaway there for your group, which is you can't do that all the time every day.
Yes.
So
definitely.
it starts with who the customer is, where can you reach them, and then pour everything you've got, digital, virtual, physical, into the same moment. And then you can have maximum impact. We're not going to do out-of-home billboards in Vegas, because it's Vegas. That's silly. We're going to do out-of-home billboards at this event for the 2 weeks leading up to it and 1 week after. That's why we're doing it. We're going to reach all these people that are going to this event with the message that we want them to see. And so it's the best way to spend money, to kind of focus.
Perfect. Yeah. We have some polling going on right now. And you guys can go and vote on those poolings. Let me see if I can share my screen here. I don't know if Chrome put some limitations on my side, maybe. Can you guys see? So we have here one of the questions. The difference, yeah, most of our audience, that's great. Know the difference between B2B and B2C. That's great. Where people are connecting from? Oh, we have all over the place. Only Asia we don't have. But Asia now is pretty late, so
It's a bad time zone for them.
Yeah, we have people coming from Africa, Latin, North America, Europe. That's awesome. Great audience here. And so the mobile strategy, and this is something important when we think about SEO today, right? I think today, even on B2B, a lot of people are searching on mobile, right? Like they're searching content on mobile. They maybe not gonna buy your product from on mobile, of course, but they might find you on a blog post or any particular landing page. So you needed to really know what is the UX and UI experience on a smartphone, right?
Absolutely. And one of the ways that marketers can really act on mobile first strategy is everything you said. Of course, your website needs to be optimized for mobile. If you search for something related to your company, or even organic search, when you do blog posts or other earned things, that should show up in a mobile friendly way. Another way to take advantage of mobile for B2B marketers, or B2C for that matter, and we saw a great example of it during the Super Bowl in America, is the Coinbase ad with all the QR code that kept bouncing around.
Yeah,
I read an article that said that they had like 20 million visits to that landing page from people looking at the screen and taking the QR code. So QR codes is a great way to be mobile first, because everybody has the scanner on their phone, right? And you can scan a code and then see what you want people to see in a mobile optimized way. It's a great kind of tactic for activating mobile.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's such a masterclass you put it here for us. Thank you so much, Nate. I don't know if there is something else that you want to share that's really matters. I think some takeaways that I got is it's not about try to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to rebuild the wheel. It's every single week, every single month, every single day, you need to make your campaigns, your message, it's streamlined. People listen the same thing all the time. And of course, you need to drive this into different channels, almost everywhere we must be when the person search for us using digital components, they needed to find us, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. The takeaway that I would leave everyone with is don't try to reinvent the things that work. I mean, stop doing the things that don't. I'll give you an example. forms and like, filling out the form and giving me my entire, email, phone address, working, all that, that's dead, right? Nobody's doing that anymore. So ungate everything is one thing that's different. But going back to basics and the fundamentals, I think that a lot of marketers get swept up in we've got to do something different and better. And they spend time churning and spinning plates around how to do that. And actually, you could drive an impact for your company by focusing on who we're trying to reach, doing the handful of things that reach them, and then being consistent in everything you do, virtual, physical, or otherwise. That really works. I've seen it time and time again.
That's amazing. Yeah. So thank you everyone that joined today. As Joy, I see Joy Marcial. Thank you, Brian, Bashir, a lot of people, Michael, putting here in the chat. And and if people want to keep in contact with you, they can add you or follow you on LinkedIn, right? I think we have here on we can put it here as well, your LinkedIn profile, and people will follow you, see what are you doing in the company. And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Vinny. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.